Hello everyone, and welcome to this second video where we talk about functions for grade 9 IB Math. In this video, we're going to talk about two things. One is domain and range, and the second is the vertical line test. Now, before we begin, we've introduced functions in the previous video. But what we haven't introduced yet is a new way to show or to write a function. So there's a new symbol that we're going to be using from now on, which is basically f x, and x is in brackets, curved brackets. Now this and y are interchangeable. What I mean is, when we write down a function, we can write it either this way, y equals x plus 2, or we can write it this way, f of x equals x plus 2. And that's how we describe it as well, f of x. So these are interchangeable and they're saying the same thing. Think of f of x as basically the function of x. All right? Think of the function as a machine where you're using values of x as input and getting values of y as output. Okay, you input values of x into your function, you get y values out. Okay, now for any function, you can be given a range of values for which this function works. So let's say I can tell you that the function f of x equals x plus 2, I'm only working with values of x that are between 1 and 9. Okay, so x has to be greater than 1 but less than 9. That is a domain. Okay, so a domain is a range of values for the input for x. It can also be greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. The only difference here is I'm saying that x can also be 1 and 9 and anything in between. All right, that's the only difference. Range is very similar, but it's for the output. So I'm giving a range of values for the output itself. Okay, so I use y or f of x, and then I'm doing the same thing. You can say all right, so that's my domain and range. Now, you should be aware by now of how to draw or graph a function, a simple function, on coordinate planes. All right, so we're gonna jump into the vertical line test now, and just what you need to know about a vertical line test is it's a test. Now, what is it a test for? It's a test to check if any function or any graph, I should say, is actually a function or not. That's it. So if I show you a graph on coordinate planes on a piece of paper, you can do this simple test to figure out if this graph is actually a function or not. And the test is very simple. Let's look at the first example here. Okay, I have my coordinate planes y and x, and then I have this curve, this function. So to test if it's actually a function or not, I'll just draw any vertical line that passes through the graph. Just like this. Okay? Now the test is, if this line passes through the graph more than once, then this is not a function. So it passes at 2 points, right here and right here. So this is not a function. That's it. That's as simple as the test can be. And actually, this is a graph of y squared equals x. And that is not a function. Now, why is it that this works? Why am I concluding, just saying, as long as it passes at 2 points on the graph, then it's not a function? Well, if you remember from the previous video, we said that a function is a relation between two items or two objects that is 1 to 1. So for every input value, I only have one output value, okay? And that is the point here, because if you look at a value here for x, let's say this is x equals 3, all right? How many values for y do I have for this value? I have 2, right? So this goes against the rule of what is a function. That's all. Okay, let's jump on to the next one. Again, I have a curved shape, and I'll just do a test. I can do another test just to make sure. And you can see that already, even if you just look at it, you can see that any vertical line you draw is going to pass through this graph only once. So this is a function. And yeah, this is a graph of the function y equals x squared. Okay? Let's look at the last one here. Now this one looks weird already as soon as we look at it. We have 3 separate lines, horizontal lines, and there's these weird circles as well, right? Like, and some of them are open, some of them are closed. Well, this is another thing I want to introduce is, remember when we just talked about equal, less than or greater than signs having an equal? Well, when we have a domain where the values or the domain says x is strictly greater than and strictly less than 1 and 9, then when I'm drawing a graph like that, at the points 1 and 9, I do open circles. And open circles mean that these values are not included. Okay? But if the domain says it's less than or equal to these values, or greater than or equal to these values, then I used closed circles on my graph. So that's all these circles, that's what they mean. That this value is included or it's not included. Okay, so if we go back to our graph now and we look at it, we see that, okay, so we have part of the function here, and then at this point, we have a closed point here, means that this value is included here, but when we continue from the other part of the graph, the first point, the same point, is actually open circle, means that the value is not included here. And then we go along the graph, another open circle, this value is not included, but it is included here. So if we draw our vertical lines now, and let's draw them at the confusing, weird sections, okay? So if I draw them now, I just need to still count how many values are there passing through this line. So if I look at the first line here, only one value is there, right? Because this one doesn't count. It's excluded, but this one is included. So I do have one value here, that's fine. On the second line, it's exactly the same. Only one value here. So actually this is a function. Yeah, and that's it. I hope this video was useful. Take your time again watching it once or twice, and I'll see you in the next video.